All right, y'all, Viega demo ready to happen. We're gonna do some large size valves. We're also gonna put in branch connectors. So we're gonna start off with the copper size. Obviously, we're pushing a lot of valves this year. You guys haven't seen it before. ProPress ball valves do all go all the way up to 4-inch now. Everything is gonna be that 0 lead. 1/2 to 2-inch valves are 0 lead bronze. The 2.5, 3, and 4 are gonna be the 0 lead brass. The cool thing about this is the installation time and what we have to do to put it in is very different from when we're using a solder system. If you guys have ever soldered one of these large size valves, normally you're wrapping it up, trying to keep it cool, putting cold rags on it. Sometimes you're pulling out that packing. First of all, we don't have a packing, and then also we're gonna use cold press technology to make this, so we don't have to do anything weird to the valve. The installation is going to take under a minute, so we're basically going to cut the pipe square, do a little pipe prep, press it into place with the classic standard size tool. So first step is cut the pipe square. Hopefully I can do it. It's hard to cut square when there's a whole crowd here, so we'll see what happens, but we do need a square cut. Now the importance of that square cut is kind of twofold. We want to make sure that our fitting is actually fully inserted onto that piece of pipe. Also, it's just proper practice. So once we've cut that pipe nice and square, we're going to come in with the file and we're going to hit that edge just to make sure there's no sharp edge that will tear our sealing element. It doesn't take a whole lot of prep to do that. We're also going to take a look at the pipe and make sure it's smooth before we press onto it. If it's not smooth, we're going to clean it up. If you look at code says shall be prepped, shall be cleaned, so you might as well clean it. Kind of shows off if there's any scratches or anything like that that you might not have seen. You don't have to go crazy. And then obviously different from solder, I can actually touch this afterwards. I'm not worried about getting oils from my hands under that like I would with a flux. We're gonna come in with the valve, look on the inside, make sure all 3 parts are there, grip ring, separator ring, sealing element, and then nice and clean. If it's been rattling around, rinse it out with some water to make sure that it is clean. So the valve's gonna go all the way onto that piece of pipe, and then we're always gonna mark full insertion depth. Every single time, I don't care if you're the best plumber on the face of the world, pipe fitter, whatever you want to call yourself, if you don't mark that, and then you come back to that fitting and it's jostled around and you don't press it fully inserted, we can't help you out on the warranty. We'd love to do that on our ProPress valves. We have a 5-year warranty. And then on our ProPress fittings, we have a 50-year warranty, 50. Smaller sizes of ProPress, you guys have seen before, they've got that hexagonal shape. That's what creates the mechanical strength on the smaller fittings. The sealing element creates the seal. On the larger fittings, we move to this rounded out hub. So that grip ring digs in the pipe, gives you mechanical strength. Separator ring protects the sealing element, and then the sealing element creates the seal. So the ring wraps around. You can use any standard size tool to do ProPress 2.5, 3, and 4-inch. So we're just gonna go to that V2 actuator. What's really nice about this is that when you put it onto there, you get that full ball and socket function. So you can really fit this tool in some nice tight spots. Pull that trigger, it's about 4 seconds to make the press. After that 4 seconds, tool comes off, jog comes off, and you're instantly ready to test. You can do that under flow, you can do that in any situation. It doesn't matter who pulls that trigger, it comes out exactly the same every single time. So that's ProPress large size ball valves. We're also going to show off the MegaPress large size ball valves. The big difference here is we changed the material and we also changed the tooling that we're working with. So we go from, talking to that pipe. So we go from our copper to our steel. We can do steel from 1/2 inch all the way to 4-inch. What we call the XL sizes in steel is that 2.5, 3, and 4-inch. The reason being is you need a bigger tool, a stronger tool to make those large size presses. So we got to kind of move up. Obviously, first step on this is a nice square cut, just like ProPress. We're gonna do that same thing where we're gonna take off our sharp edge, make sure there's nothing to damage our sealing element. Then we're gonna look at this piece of pipe, once again, make sure that it's smooth before we press it. If it's nice and smooth, press onto it. You don't have to remove that protective coating. So if you're working with any other system, you gotta take that off. If you're threading a pipe, you're actually removing wall thickness, and you're deteriorating the pipe and you're taking off the shellac or whatever it is. I love you too. So we're gonna look at that and make sure it's nice and smooth. If it's not, we're gonna do what we call freckling the pipe. So that would come across the top with that sandcloth or Scotch-Brite and just make sure there's no scratches, rust, or debris, anything we didn't see to make sure it's smooth. Do the same thing you do with your ProPress valves. Take a look on the inside, make sure all 3 parts are there and that they're clean and ready to rock. We're gonna take that valve, insert it all the way onto that piece of pipe. Now, if we were gonna weld this, any welders out here? This is an HVAC convention, so many welds. I'm a welder, so I'll tell you guys, this 2.5-inch ball valve weld probably gonna take somewhere around 2.5 to 3 hours to do both sides, put the valve back together. We're gonna have this done in under a minute. So mark both sides. Now you might think that we're just gonna use our standard size tool, but we gotta go up in our tooling game with Mega Press because we need twice as much press force. On Pro Press, we're putting down 32 kilonewtons of force. It's about 8,400 foot-pounds. But now because we have the stainless steel grip ring and a steel fitting, we wanna put off about 64 kilonewtons. So we're gonna walk up in our tooling and we're gonna go to what we call a long throw tool. The long throw tool doesn't put off more power, it puts off more time. So if you take a look at that shaft, there's twice as much room in that shaft. So time versus power equals more force. So it's an 8-second press with a larger head to make that force of the press work. So we're gonna take that, line it up, put that jaw in there. It's a pretty large tool, it's not super heavy. Do you wanna make the press for me? So he's gonna come in here and make the press. We're gonna turn the power on to the tool so we don't both look like idiots when we started off. So he's gonna leak up on there. Go ahead and just like I did, show him that ball and socket action. Kind of rotate that tool from left to right. So even with that giant tool, you can get yourself in some really nice tight spots. We're gonna line it up, make sure it's fully inserted. You can pull that trigger and hold it. Got 8 seconds to make the press. It doesn't matter who's making the press. It's gonna take the same 8 seconds. We're gonna have the same quality, consistent connection every single time. Have you ever pressed one of those big ones before? No. So what's great about that is I've done thousands of these, you've done one. We both just put in the same exact joint. Give them a round of applause, everybody. Now all that's pretty interesting. Those are things that a lot of people have seen. We've seen similar things on smaller size presses. Hopefully this is something you've never seen before, and if you're already buying it, that's great. I'm glad that you have seen it. This is what we call the press-in branch connector. So the press-in branch connector is basically a press-a-let, but we can't call it a press-a-let because OLED is a trademark name. So we call it the press-in branch connector. We're a German company, so we use long names for things, and that works out great. Basically what it's gonna do is we're gonna drill a hole. There's a sealing element on the face of that fitting, and it's gonna seal to the face of that pipe. The bird cage is gonna pull us tight against it. Typical installation time for that to be welded, we're looking at probably 20-30 minutes without setup and breakdown. This is gonna go in just a couple minutes. So what you're gonna need is the entire branch connector kit. The branch connector kit comes with everything we need to make this connection. Usually runs about 1,300 bucks depending on your wholesaler. So inside the kit, there's a couple different things. What we're gonna start off with is the chain vise assembly. This chain vise assembly wraps around the pipe, and then it helps us drill the hole straight and clean right where we want it. So there's a drum, there's a little column here, and then there's a vacuum attachment to suck out the shavings as we go. We don't always use the vacuum attachment while I'm doing this because you guys want to listen to me talk, so I'm not going to run it today. But we're going to put it across the top just like that, and then we're going to lock it down into place once I actually have the chain in there. So we'll lock that down. What's really nice about that is no matter where I put this chain vise, that's where the hole is going to end up, and that's where the branch connector is going to end up. So it's really easy to just level off the top, side, bottom, wherever you want it, and that's where it's going to end up when you're done with it. So you come in, hit that with the wrench, tighten it down into place. Next thing we need is our drill assembly. So any drill you got, standard size drill, and then we've got the actual drill assembly that comes with our kit. 1/16 hole saw, off-centered pilot bit, which is gonna plug that inside plug to the side so it doesn't fall down into our pipe. So we're gonna lock that in. I'm gonna tell you right now, this is the longest part of the whole process, is actually drilling the hole. So we're gonna line that up. The pin keeps us from drilling out the other side. The drum keeps us drilling straight the entire time. So we're looking at, I don't know, 30 seconds to drill this. When we time these in the shop, we do them as fast as we can, and I'm not talking people through the process. I can put these in just about a minute of time. So not too long to actually install these. So we're gonna drill that hole. This is super exciting, so I'm glad you guys are sticking around for me drilling the whole part. But it is nice to see the whole process, because if I just press it in, it looks like 4 seconds, not a whole minute to do it. See if I can kill this battery today. If you guys like different types of hole saws, that's fine. It comes with a couple in the kit. Personally, I like Lennox and Diablo. Those seem to work the best as far as hole saws go. Those are my favorites. I might just kill this battery too, so we'll see if we can get it through here. I hate swapping on a demo like this, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Might have wore the hole saw out. You can oil them too if you wanted to. So if you wanted to put like a wax or an oil or a lubricant in there to make the hole saw last a little longer, that's totally fine. Just make sure you clean that off before you press onto it. Look at that, I got it. And the plug's in there. My finger's bleeding a little bit, but anything for the show. So there we go, the plug's right where it should be. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take off that drill vise assembly, and we're gonna do just a little bit of pipe prep like we would on any other mega press connection. So that comes off, put that to the side, and we're gonna clean off the face of that pipe just like we would with mega press. So you come in, clean off that face. Next thing we're gonna do is take the actual tool assembly. So this is the tool adapter. This is the 3/4 inch port that's threaded, goes towards the tool adapter. The mandrel goes through the top of the bird cage. We lock it down tight. That's what's gonna compress that against the inside of the pipe. So we set it in just like that. If you're wondering how close you can put them, it's every 2 3/4 inches on center. We can do 1.5 inch all the way to 6-inch pipe, schedule 10 all the way to schedule 40. So a lot of different configurations. Next thing we're gonna do is take the line-up clamp. There's one for every single size of pipe. It's gonna slip right over the top. We're gonna lock that branch connector into place so it doesn't wibble, wobble, fall around while we're doing it. We're gonna take any standard or long throw tool, pull out the jaw that we just pressed our Pro Press or Mega Press with, slip that over the top of the branch connector, and then you're gonna make the press for me. Let's go. It's gonna pull that trigger, it's gonna compress the bird cage towards the inside of the pipe. You're gonna pull the tool out, we're gonna pop the clamp off, and that's installed. So even with my really slow drilling process, we're looking at a couple minutes. Talking the entire thing through, you probably still wouldn't be set up and ready to actually make a weld on that. So a lot of cool stuff here. Make sure we've got 2 more demos today. So make sure to get signed up for that. Get your badge scanned so we can get into contact with you. And then we've got a trip for 2 to the Colorado Training Center, Seminar Center to hang out with me for a day, do an event and all that kind of stuff. So make sure you get all scanned in for that.